From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast with Scott Sander.
Welcome to the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast. I'm Scott Sander. On this episode, the U.S. Office of Personnel Management announces federal opportunities in Indiana. Also, living a zero-carb life. And we look into the Burmese-American business community.
Every business is unique and has a target audience. If you own or manage a business, Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble, offering best-in-class results, service, and support to reach a bigger customer base, allowing you to pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. Get outside the city, the state, span the globe. Put Circulus Digital Media to work for you. Get started now at circulusdigital.com. That's circulusdigital.com.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, and it's time to talk about the week in business. Kiran Ahuja serves as the director of the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, or OPM, spent more than 2 decades in public service and executive nonprofit work before President Biden nominated her to become the first South Asian American and first Asian American woman to lead the OPM. We talked with her during a visit to Indianapolis about some of the federal opportunities available here.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This Week in Business.
We were created a number of years back to manage the federal workforce, to set policies, to ensure that we employ what we call the merit system, merit-based hiring. And so we actually govern and create policies that are agencies have to follow. So we put a little bit of those kind of guardrails on what it means to create a workforce, a civil service workforce that is governed by the kind of qualifications they bring in into the federal government, their expertise, how we want to utilize them to support the American public. So we're kind of the HR arm of any business, but for the largest employer in the country, 2.2 million individuals. And so we also support agencies to help with building out their workforce, managing their workforce. And a perfect example is here in Indiana, you have probably about $4 billion from infrastructure investments, 200 plus projects. So before that could go out the door, agencies had to build the staff inside their agencies in order to get those dollars and those programs set up. That's what we do, help them, give them the ability and the tools and the manpower to take what is a pretty significant project and make sure it comes to fruition. The federal workforce and federal agencies are an important employer here in Indiana and Indianapolis. We have 26,000 federal employees in Indiana, 13,000 in Indianapolis alone. So we're thinking about that a lot. We're thinking about recruiting more of those individuals into the federal government and enticing them by all host of things regarding the kinds of experiences that they can have in the federal government. We like to say we win on mission. So I think oftentimes if you talking to business owners, right, they're thinking about how they can advertise and promote their job opportunities. But I also think it's a brand issue as well, at least for the federal government, maybe similarly for larger sized employers. I think for us, we have to compete with the private sector, and I think in our minds we do that in a few different ways, which is we remind people about the mission and the kind of work that you can do in the federal government. We say that you can find a federal version of every dream job in the federal government. Literally every occupation is found in the federal government. And now we have these workplace flexibilities where right now there's about 2,000 jobs that people can apply to in Indiana, whether they're based here or remote. So these opportunities are far and wide. Federal employees are in every county in the country. So I think we think about what's our brand, how we market, what are the benefits, opportunities for growth, especially for Gen Z. If we think about that in particular, I think they're very demanding, as they should be, around the work experience they want to have. And I would say finally also people care about an inclusive work environment. They care about the commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's been a big part of how we think about our work. We want to make sure our workforce reflects the diversity that we see around us. We want individuals to feel like they can bring their whole selves to their work, and that they have a supportive work environment. And I think if employers think about that full package, not only like what's the meaningful experience you're going to have, but what's the work environment you're going to come into, because we spend so many hours at our jobs. Yes, we should have all different voices, but we also need those early in their careers to really come in and help us build the bench within our organizations. So I think, you know, the mix of the pandemic being a disruptor, workers just reevaluating what they want in a job. And I think employers have to speak to that, both in the kind of experience, the flexibilities, the new talent coming in. So it's a mix of the disruptor, and I also think this newer generation just sees jobs in a very different way. And I think it's important that we listen to what they want. So I think oftentimes, I'll say for myself, I think it's important to have representation, so leaders of all different types of backgrounds. I think you have a workforce that comes in, they want to see that they are going to have a good experience, they're going to continue to have professional growth, they're going to have a good work environment, and they're going to see a pathway for themselves in that job. And if they don't, you know, they will likely go somewhere else. So I think for us, those are kind of the basic principles around what's the type of environment. It should be inclusive. There should be opportunities for growth. We also want to ensure that I think one thing that we do very well in the federal government is pay transparency and pay equity. You know, the gender wage gap generally is about 17%, and in the federal workforce is less than 6%. In our senior executive service, there's no gender gap. We have equivalent of about, you know, equal male, female, and there is no gender wage disparity in that group as well. I think we certainly want to ensure and do better around further diversity and representation across the board of different communities. But I think it's important that we show that we want leaders of different backgrounds. We think it's important to have that within a business, because in many ways those perspectives help us make good business decisions. You're not just having someone who agrees and thinks the exact same thing that you do. I often say, like, if you're going to agree with me around a table, a conference table, then we've got a problem, right? Because to really tackle a solution, we need to look at it from all different angles.
Each week on Business Equity and Opportunities, we focus on a specific industry. ZeroCarb LYFE produces what it calls the world's first ever zero-carb, high-protein pizza crust. Its founders took an idea, brought it to market, and landed some valuable shelf space in the process. We talked with one of the co-founders of ZeroCarb LYFE, Omar Atiyah, about the journey.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Industry Focus.
I had a friend that had invented an invention in 2006. I had been in foods. I'm a chemical engineering graduate from Purdue. I had been in foods for a big part of my life with the big foods companies. And when he told me about his invention that had been sort of sitting on the shelf after he invented it because he had diabetes and was aware that there was a big need for himself to eat pizza and not have his blood sugar spike, but it was kind of sitting on the shelf. And so I told him, well, this is an amazing thing. We can invent more products with my knowledge and my ability to scale in operations. We can do a lot of things with this. And so we started the conversation the year before COVID. And then when COVID hit, everything else was shut down, and we decided this was the opportunity for us to refocus all our energies, myself, him, and a team of other partners that I had with me on other things that got shut down. So we focused on ZeroCarb LYFE and launched it in 2020. Protein as a dough isn't necessarily unique to us. There's a lot of videos on TikTok of how you can make crust out of protein. There's people who use almond flour. There's cauliflower crust, as a lot of people may be aware. But what's unique in our process is that we're able to actually do it in a way that keeps the texture, keeps the mouthfeel, keeps the experience of a pizza slice, but without adding anything to the protein. So it's a pizza crust made purely out of chicken breast protein, not adding anything, and specifically not adding binder, which is usually what you need in order to have that crust hold itself together and to be able to hold it like a pizza slice. And it's the same thing for the chips. So we make the chips the same way, the taco shell the same way. We have a unique patented process of how we do it. We learned a lot about challenges that sometimes you don't plan for and can come your way. So, we started in COVID, like I mentioned, and then very quickly after that, the bird flu happened. So our main source of protein being chicken, actually, that obviously impacted our business quite a bit. But in general, in foods, there's it depends on the channel you're selling. And so, for instance, if you're selling in retail, there's a lot of relationships that have to be mastered. So you have the distributors. The distributors are really the ones who own the relationship with the final customer, which is the retailer, who then sells it to the consumer. Well, as a branded food company, we want to be able to have a relationship with that final consumer. But of course, our direct customers are not necessarily the final consumer when it comes to retail or even food service with restaurants. So there's nuances as to how you still manage a relationship, keep your customer happy, your direct customer happy, while at the same time, who you're really living for, who your mission is for, is the final consumer. Shelf space itself is it's real estate that is the most valuable on earth. Then you add to that, for instance, half of our product is a frozen product. So if you think of when you go to the grocery store, what percentage of the grocery store is actually the frozen aisle, it's a much smaller percentage than the rest of the grocery store. So you're fighting with the giants of the food companies to get some of that shelf space to sell this new product that no one's heard of before when you're a new brand company. So it's incredible. And we've been blessed. We very early on had a very quick deal with a local grocer that was local to St. Louis and Evansville at the time, Schnucks, and the deal came by us just believing in ourselves and going and put ourselves out there, and very quickly they realized how unique our product was, so it grew rapidly from the 6 stores that they first put us in to 80. Now we're in all the Fresh Times in Indiana, and we're being reviewed for national launch at Fresh Time. We just got accepted in Mariano's in Chicagoland, so all the 22 Mariano's stores in Chicago will have us on the shelves, and of course our 400 almost Sprouts stores. So Sprouts is an incredible brand out west and Southwest as well. They loved our brand. They're amazing partners, and they've grown things with us and for us, and they're also growing. So we've had this incredible run with retailers, and now we've just joined a strategic partnership with a company that is very in tune with data, very in tune with understanding what customers need in order to deliver to their final consumer at the retail space. And so we're working very closely with them to have our exponential growth phase next year. The most exciting thing, honestly, is the fact that this next year I can see us growing exponentially in retail. So, the first few years of a branded food company, just getting on those first few shelves, getting those first customers to believe that you can service, because in retail, and in restaurant food service, it's really important that you can service the business. So if a restaurant's going to put you on their menu, and then customers come in to buy and they're like, oh, well, we're out of it, we don't have it for another week, that is not a good place to be. If it's retail and they give you shelf space, and then they run out and you're not servicing to refill that shelf space, that's real estate that they're losing money on. You can't have that type of problem when you're on retail. So you better be ready, no matter what the growth is that you have, to fill that shelf space quick and have that capacity to do that. And when you're a small company, you can't overinvest in assets. And what I mean is, I can't overinvest and have a plant that can produce millions and millions of volume, while at the same, because I don't have the business, while at the same time I have to be ready to produce those millions and millions of volume as soon as things start flying off the shelf, which our product has, thankfully been doing that. So it's sort of this delicate balance you have to strike, but always service well. I try not to brag about what we're doing as a company in every circle I have, because I don't want to be like that guy, But I was with a group of friends, and one of them happened to know about the company, and then they're like, and the 7 other guys are like, wait, you do what? And I tell them, they're like, dude, I've been waiting for something like this. You said pizza and chips? And I'm like, yes. So then they all get on their phones and they order it, and then I just received texts, from 3 of them that, man, this stuff is incredible. Why haven't you told us about it? So it feels really good to be able to be humble. At the same time, it's something to really be proud of, that we have these products that people have been waiting on all their lives.
It is time for our success story. The Burmese-American Community Institute, a nonprofit organization founded in 2011 that provides educational and vocational support in central Indiana. More than 40,000 Burmese people call Indiana home.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Success Story.
My name is Elisa Vani, Executive Director of Burmese-American Community Institute that assists rapidly growing Burmese community in central Indiana with self-sufficiency and integration through advocacy, education, and employment. We've just celebrated 30 years of Burmese community in central Indiana. A few Burmese individuals arrived in 1993, and we actually celebrate that year. And Governor Eric Hogan also proclaimed Burmese-American Month this year, July, to recognize not only the growing Burmese population, but also their contributions to economic growth, high educational performance, and cultural diversity they bring to central Indiana community. That, of course, is contributed to making this place, a city, one of the best places to work, live, and play. First of all, Burmese come here as refugees. Mainly, they have been forced to flee their home country because of their ethnicity, religion beliefs, or participation in political movement, which is basically against the military regime. And when they join here, of course, there are various challenges that they face. Not speaking English or little English, and completely different environment culturally and workplace. So they need to learn English to be able to communicate. And also their children, when they placed in the grade school, they place in the grade level based on their age, not academic performance or background. Of course, in Burma, or the second countries where they first sought refuge, they did not have access to formal education for many, many years. So they're just completely here in a new environment. And at the same time, they are expected to be becoming self-sufficient economically quickly in 3 months to 6 months, so which is not realistically possible. The good news is this population is potential, and they are performing very well, as I have just stated earlier, in education, economy, as well as bringing diverse culture to the community. So we have been implementing programs innovatively and creatively, but also comprehensively, not only just assist these individuals becoming self-sufficient by delivering those English classes, citizenship instructions, job placement, technical assistance to small business startups, and many more. But also, we have been assisting specifically individuals with their small business so that they are becoming as quickly as possible to be self-sufficient economically. When we started this organization a few years from their arrival, the college going rate among the Burmese recent high school graduate was just about 34%, but now it has gone up to 93% last year. But let me emphasize this, that result is a testament of the collaboration and the partnership we have forged together here in our shared community. School districts, parents, community, universities, colleges really coming together, recognizing that coming together can change things. But of course, we all know it takes a village to raise a kid. That's exactly what we have seen in our community here. So we celebrated actually 30 years of Burmese community in central Indiana, really to celebrate our collective success, which is contributing for the greater good of our shared society and our shared community. And that includes, of course, again, recognition of those who've achieved their professional career in many outstanding ways, distinguished service providers, as well as individual leaders. But again, our partners, those who have really worked with us, truly understanding that working together, coming together is a win-win. Everyone wins in our community. So we have been able to partner, strengthen those partnerships in the course of so many years in the past. So we were happy, honored to be able to recognize those outstanding individuals in different fields, education, health, and government, and elected officials, so on and so forth. But also, we were able to recognize and honor the outstanding educational achievement individuals in our community, those who have earned masters and above. So it was a variety of individuals and organizations, more than actually over 100 individuals and organizations were able to recognize. That's really also not only just celebrate our past, but to look at our present and embracing our future, and hopefully that will also inspire individuals, especially young people, to do and excel in their education and career.
Our thanks again to all the contributors who joined us for this episode of the Business Equity and Opportunities podcast. We hope you found it enlightening, useful, and inspiring. You'll find more information about the show on our website, beoshow.com. You can watch Business Equity and Opportunities Sunday mornings at 10 on Wish TV or live stream it through wishtv.com. Each week we provide 7 full segments with topics ranging from how to get started and how to access capital to the day-to-day running of your business and questions about accounting and bookkeeping. We feature business news and trends and always share a success story from one of our contributors. Join us next time for more insights into the world of small business. Be sure to sign up for our Business Equity and Opportunities newsletter to get even more valuable, up-to-date information. And if you have any questions or you'd like to be part of our show, please email us. The address is beo@wishtv.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for listening.
Watch the Business Equity and Opportunity Show on Wish TV and access all of our content and share it on demand anytime at beoshow.com. You can find more podcasts from Wish TV on the All Indiana Podcast Network at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.